This is the last part of the recital that I did in Ireland last month. And next month I play a concert in Los Angeles. And I haven't quite decided yet what I'm going to play. I know that I'm not going to play anything brand new because I won't have time to learn something. So I'll draw on things that I already know, but I just have to plan the program out. But two of the pieces that I'm going to play today, I didn't perform before Ireland. They were first performed in Ireland, and I just learned them. So I'm kind of excited to share them with you. All right, I'm going to start the program today with a piece by an American composer named David Lasky, who's still very much alive. And this is based on an Irish folk tune. And some of you may recognize it because it's also used by a lot of churches as a melody to sing songs to. And so you might recognize it as I play it, but it is an Irish folk tune. And this is a series of variations, which means I get to play lots of different styles of the melody. I get to use the organ with a lot of different colors. So I'm going to, each part of it is pretty short, and I'm going to change the sound as I work through the piece. So there'll be lots of sound changes. I think that's always interesting for the audience, so I do enjoy programming pieces like that have a lot of sound changes and not just all one sound. So this is David Lasky's variations on Irish folk tune. The name of the tune is called Slane, S-L-A-N-E. The most common text in America is Be Thou My Vision. If you know that hymn, that's the same melody. Okay, I start with a theme. This is just the theme presented here to open the piece. Next one is called Meditation. So I change sounds here and have a different color. Next movement is called Trio. It's meant to be in the style of Bach, or the Baroque style. Next movement is called fugato. It's a fugue. I'll start with a theme, and then there's different voices that bring that theme in. So just the theme by itself at the beginning. Another voice. Next movement is called improvisation. So it'll have a gentle solo melody and then a very, very quiet accompaniment. And then finally, the last part is a big sound and changes key. I go from 3 flats to 6 flats, so I'm playing lots and lots of black keys in this last movement. Then it goes back to the original key at the end, and I'm going to add even a little more sound at the very end. So it's a pretty big sounding finale. All right. So, you know, that's a piece that is useful for me because if I'm playing in church, I can extract one part of that piece to use for collecting the offering or during communion if we're using that melody anyway. So it was fun to learn the whole thing to play back to back to back for the audience, but it's useful in other ways too, because that melody we use here in College Chapel and on the weekends when I'm playing places, that melody is often something that's chosen, and so I have stuff now that I can use in the service to help bring that context out for everyone. So it's a useful piece. These next two pieces are canons. Do you remember when we talked about a famous canon in D major by Johann Pachelbel? Remember that back in chapter 6 in the Baroque era? You should all go, yeah, I remember, right? Now, it was, let me refresh your memory. Do you recall a piece that sounded like this? Let's see here. Does that sound familiar? Hopefully. Now, the thing with that piece is it's not really a canon. The definition of a canon is a round, where if I had one part of the room sing, you know, row, row, row your boat, and then I'm going to bring this side in, and then you kind of follow each other. You're not together. Your one part follows the other. That's a canon. That's what I played is not a canon, even though it's called canon in D. It's just a repeated bass line with variations. So these are canons that I'm going to play, which will be one, my right hand will start, my left hand will follow. And those are difficult things to play because you've got to keep both going at the same time. And you're hearing both of them, and you've got to have one lead and one follow. These are both canons at the octave, which means I'm going to start the right hand on a certain note, and then the left hand will start on the same letter name, an octave below. So if I start on A in my right hand, I'm going to start on A in my left hand, but at a different spot. See if you can hear each of the two melodies, one chasing the other one, throughout these pieces. These are brand new pieces to me. I never learned them before. In fact, when I ordered them, I didn't even know what they sounded like. I was interested because the composer was born in the city where I performed in Ireland. And I was trying to find something special that I could play over there to connect with me coming from the United States, but I didn't know these pieces, and I didn't know the composer, never had heard of him. I looked him up in an encyclopedia, and I called a music store and said, I'm interested in this composer. Is there anything in print that I could order? They sent me a few things, and so I learned these two canons by this man. His name is William Wood. William Wood, and he was born in Ireland, but he spent most of his adult life in England, in London. But he was born in the same town where I played. So these are two canons. The first one's a kind of a slower one. The second one's a little bit faster. So listen for those two lines as they go through. So that was the first canon. Did that get you dizzy hearing two lines just slightly off sync? Hopefully not. It is a challenge to play, I can tell you that. And I'm still kind of getting comfortable with it. I'll get more and more comfortable with it as I keep playing it over the years. But this is the other one I've learned. Same composer, same idea, a little different tempo here, a little bit more peppy than the last one. So those are fun pieces, but they really just make my head swim with all of the lines darting back and forth. And actually, normally what I do when I play in public is I very carefully mark my music, push this button here, go to this keyboard. I actually didn't do that for this program. Not that I'm kind of used to this organ, but I can't remember exactly. I worked on it this morning, what I was going to do, but I never took my old notes out from Ireland and put new instructions in, so I'm still thinking, which button am I pushing, or am I going here or there? This is only 2 keyboards here, and in Ireland I had 4. So I have more variety to work with than I do here. So for the last piece, I don't have time to play the entire sonata. I played, the last piece on my program was about as long as the entire other half of the program put together. It was a sonata written in the 1890s by a German composer. We didn't talk about him in class, Joseph Rheinberger. He would have been at the same time as Brahms and a little bit later than Robert Schumann, but about the same time in the late 19th century. Johannes Brahms is probably the biggest name from that same period. And this was 3 movements, so kind of fast, slow, fast. So I thought to end today, I just play the last movement for you, which is called Toccata. And it was written again by Rheinberger in 1891, I believe, Joseph Rheinberger. So this is the last part of his sonata. It's his 14th organ sonata. He actually wrote 20 organ sonatas. And some of them I like better than others. I like this one, number 14, quite a lot. And so this is that last movement called Toccata. And let me just play a few things so it doesn't just kind of get lost in you. Here's some things to listen for. So there's a main theme, and that main theme sounds like this. Just a scale going upward. So that's at the very beginning. We hear that theme. Let's see, what else can I give you to listen? Then there's points where it'll get quieter, and we'll have this idea going on. Okay, so that theme will come into play. Then you'll hear again that first theme. You'll hear that come back in. In the middle, I have a kind of he puts in a bit of a different sound. It's just some big, full chords like this. And then we go back to that quiet theme again. It's actually much quieter than the first one even. And so we hear that again, and then we hear the opening theme yet again, kind of keeps coming back. Towards the end of the piece, I get to do something really fun, which is play a trill with my feet. A trill, for those of you who don't know, is just back and forth between 2 notes really quickly. Like that. So I do that with my feet in this part. It starts out with 8th notes, then twice as fast, and then it just goes kind of just into a free trill. And meanwhile, I have big chords in my hands on top of that. Those are the main things to listen for, that main first theme and those incidental second themes that are quieter. So here is Toccata by Rheinberger. This is just the last third of the sonata that I finished the program with.